What's going on? Welcome to High Integrity Dating. Welcome to the three-part series that I call Blueprints to Success. I created this series so I can show you guys how becoming successful with women, whatever that means to you, doesn't need to take a long period of time. So I went from being nervous, shy, scared of women, not knowing how to be around them, not knowing what to say, not knowing how to be completely unattractive, everything would go over my head, to having great success with women in less than 3 months' time. And we're going to talk about how I did that in this video. In this first part, we're going to talk about the moment that I realized I needed help with women to the first real result that I saw in everything that happened in between that time and to the time I got my first result. I'll be honest with you. I didn't start off a virgin, but I did start off with dating women who were out of shape, overweight, girls that I wouldn't have wanted to be seen with in public. And that's just being real, right? Not to say that these are bad women, because they're not, just where they were in their lives. It wasn't what I wanted for myself. What I wanted for myself was I wanted to really date women that turned me on, women that actually stimulated me physically. Now, in high school, I had these types of women. I was attracted to these types of women. I would date these types of women in high school. But there was something about leaving high school up until my 30s where I just could not figure it out. And I was going for the low-hanging fruit. And because I was going for the low-hanging fruit, I was never, ever, ever satisfied. I know that some of you guys' stories, because I talked to a lot of you guys on the phone. A lot of you guys are like, hey, back in high school, I was killing it. Back in my 20s, I was killing it. Maybe you got into a relationship. By the time you get out of the relationship, you're like, hey, I don't know how to navigate this dating scape anymore. I don't know what's going on anymore. It all feels so difficult. That's a very common thing. There's also guys watching this video who, even in high school, had never had any success with women. And that's also very common too. So don't feel like you're the only one out there who hasn't had experience with women at the age that you're at right now. It's completely common. You wouldn't imagine how many guys I talked to who shared those stories and actually go out to meet women that they want to date and be with after. It was probably around age 27, 28, 29 when I realized that I don't know what I'm doing. And I just keep getting the same low-hanging fruit every single time. I keep going for women who are easy, that I know I can get. And I knew that there was something to that. I knew that there was something wrong in that. I knew that I wasn't living up to my fullest potential when it came to dating and women. And I tell this story a lot, but I had a story with a woman who was a mutual friend of a friend that really ended in a very painful way for me. At least painful enough to be the catalyst for me to go forward and look for help, which is when I found Fearless. So I'll cut that story short by saying there was a mutual friend of a friend. I thought she was very beautiful. She seemed to be very attracted to me, but she had also played this game, right, where she give me a little validation, kind of take it away, give me a little validation, take it away. Whenever I would actually act on it and move forward to try to make something happen, she would always just, and nothing ever happened. So I was getting frustrated, so frustrated that I had to pull up Google or YouTube, whatever it was at the time, and type in, how do you talk to women? Because I just felt like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know basic communication with women. And this is when I found Fearless. And the video that I saw was this one here. It's a video where Brian's talking about the nice guy syndrome. And everything he's saying in that video just holds true to who I am. And as I'm watching this video, I'm like, damn, this dude understands it. Like, he's literally speaking to my thoughts of years and years and years and years. And he's telling me that there's a solution. So I watched a few more videos and I realized, I said, this is the guy I need to talk to. I need to learn from this guy. So he was hosting these Wednesday night meetings. And luckily, he just happened to be hosting these meetings about 30 minutes from where I was living. Coincidence, right? So I go down to one of these Wednesday meetings, and I get there, and they give us this sheet. And the sheet says something like, what do you want your dating life to look like? And it starts asking you questions about your current dating life. And as I'm starting to look at this stuff, I'm starting to just realize that, man, I just don't have the dating life that I want. And I've never had the dating life that I wanted. And there's some beautiful women in that room. And I was looking at the women who were working there, who were working this Wednesday night event, just thinking to myself, man, I can never date a girl like that. I can absolutely never do it. And I've since gone on to date girls like that, and more beautiful girls than that as well. But at the time, it just didn't feel possible. So anyways, Brian goes on to the front of the room and he starts talking to us. Probably about 5 or 6 guys in the room. And the one thing that I keep noticing about Brian is that Brian's got this energy about him, like it's very masculine man energy. And I didn't feel like at the time I possessed that. But I can see it on him. Like he felt very solid. I can literally feel him rooted into the earth. And as he's giving this talk, I'm just kind of like, in my head, I'm like, damn, I'm the furthest away from this guy. Like I know this guy gets women. But me, I just felt like so disconnected from that. And so he's talking about tension. He's talking about grounding. He's talking about reactivity. He's talking about attraction. And I'm just like, yes, like these are all the things that I need that I'm lacking. And then he offers a workshop at the end. And he said, hey, we're doing this model work. You come and you work with the models that we hire, and they're going to give you direct feedback on how they perceive you when you're standing in front of them. And to me, it made sense. It was like 1 + 1 = 2. If I can get in front of these models and they can tell me what's going on with me, then I'll know, and then I can go out and I can change it. And that's exactly what happened. I showed up for this workshop probably like 2 months later, and we started doing model work. And I started to realize that I had a lot of stuff that I was hiding. Like I was nervous. I was hiding myself. I wasn't connecting. I was just completely rejecting women and not even knowing that I was doing it. I avoided eye contact. It made me very nervous. It made me lock up in the heart. It made me get tight and tense. So I started to understand, no wonder I was scared to be around women, because all this stuff was going on underneath the surface. During that workshop, I learned how to open the heart up and what that actually felt like to actually have a connection with a woman. And I kid you not, man, it felt like in that split second, it felt like I was in love. Like looking at a woman in the eye for the first time, having my body go through all the shakes, the jitters, the wanting to pull back, the wanting to close off, the wanting to defend and protect myself, the fight or flight, being like, oh, I don't know what to say, like all that stuff. As the heart started to open up, as I started to relax in it, it literally felt like I was falling in love with this girl. And I remember somewhere in the workshop, Brian said, like, when you get your first taste of connection, it's going to feel like you're falling in love. And I was like that was literally happening in that workshop. So we worked with the models for 2 or 3 days, and the workshop ended. And I remember the experience was just the most awesome thing I had ever experienced. Monday comes. I go back to work. And the one thing that I'm noticing when I'm at work now is that when people are talking to me, I'm locked in through the eye contact, especially with the women who work at the job that I worked at. And what I was noticing was that they know how to connect. Like they will lock in with you, hold eye contact with you. But the other thing that I noticed too was that now that I was able to hold eye contact and talk to them a little bit, they weren't rushing off, right? They weren't just saying something and then leaving. Like they were saying something, we talk a little bit, and then they just stand there. Even sometimes in the awkward silence, actually even a lot of times in the awkward silence. For me, it was awkward. And that was the most fascinating thing. And I couldn't unsee it. I could not unsee it. And I always thought, maybe there was something there. Maybe there was something there. So I would go back to work, and I would have these conversations with the people who worked there, the women who were coming, who were checking out books. I was talking to them more and more and more, getting more comfortable. And one thing I noticed was that the eye contact and the connection was getting just more consistent with every woman that I talked to. And when you learn how to connect, remember how I told you guys it felt like you were kind of like falling in love a little bit? There's a bubble that comes with that. And if you haven't watched my video on creating a bubble, go ahead and watch it. It's this one right here. But I was creating a bubble with every attractive woman that I ran into. Any attractive woman who would come to the library, who would check out a book, who would return a book, who I would see walking in the aisles, just start talking with them, creating a bubble. And I was just noticing, it actually felt like they were attracted to me. And it felt good. It was a confidence booster. And I kid you not, I felt like a little kid inside. I was like, wow, this stuff is actually working. So this was, again, this was just the Monday after the 3-day workshop, right? So this is one day in, and I'm already noticing all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, this stuff is working. So my first instinct was this. I've got to get back with Brian and work with him some more because this stuff is phenomenal. Shortly after, I started talking to women more. I started to really kind of dive in, talk to them more. So Brian and Fearless have this rule that if you did a workshop with them, you can come back and you can assist for free. And I took advantage of that. I was calling out sick at work because I really didn't want to be there. I really wanted to be in the room where Brian was teaching this stuff around him and the models and what they were doing. So I went to assist for free one time. And just being in that room, it does something to you. Like you grow just by being in the vicinity of these people, watching people do model work. So Brian's talking about tension, how you need to step into tension, how you need to create sexual tension. So that next Monday, I go into work and I'm looking at women, I'm talking to them, I'm connecting and creating a bubble. Then I start asking women out. And it was coming off kind of shaky the way I was asking. Because it was like, hey, do you want to go out sometime? Like, kind of nervous and sheepish. Even though I was able to create the connection, the words weren't coming out very confidently. And so I was getting a mixed bag of answers. Some girls were like, yes. Some girls were like, no. Some girls were like, I had a boyfriend. It was just a mixed bag of things. So the ones that said no, obviously, they feel like, oh, that sucked. But the ones that said yes, it was like, wow. It sparked this tension in my body. But now all of a sudden I've got dates where I didn't have dates before. And I remember 2 or 3 very distinct dates that I had in 1 week that was just like, wow, this is insane. I remember a girl walking up to the counter and she was really good at connection. And I noticed that when I went to look at her in the eyes, she just held it with me. And so we talked, we smiled a little bit. And then I think I chased her down after she had checked her books out, and I asked her if she wanted to go out sometime. I thought she was cute. She said, yeah. So she gave me a number, we went on a few dates. I nice guided on those dates, and I kind of sabotaged it. There was another girl. Chased her down in the library. She was really good at connection, too. Asked her if she wanted to go out sometime. She said yes. That ended up being a really awesome relationship that I had with this girl for a period of time. Trying to think, there's girls who worked there that I was seeing. Anyways, the point is this. That was a very short period of time that I started to see success. And I kid you not, that was maybe a month worth of time or maybe less than a month's worth of time. Now, for you, a person who's maybe just getting used to this stuff, who's just starting this stuff, who's out there, maybe you're approaching, but you're not having the success that you want, it doesn't even take as long as you're making it take. Just let that idea sit, okay? That you could actually be doing it a lot faster and a lot more effective. So fast forward, that's a month, and I've probably had like maybe 4 or 5 dates in that month alone. Every month that goes on after this, and I'll get into this in the next part, I get more dates. The women that I'm getting these dates with are starting to change. They're starting to be a little more confident. They're starting to be a little more sexy. I'm starting to be a lot more confident, but I'm not noticing it. I'm not noticing the confidence part, but I'm just noticing the external things are starting to change. The types of women that I'm seeing and I'm hanging out with are starting to change, right? They're not these overweight women who are low-hanging fruit, who are toxic women. They're not women like this. These are women who think very highly of themselves. They take care of themselves, great hygiene, they dress well, And I feel like my self-esteem and my confidence was still just a little bit lower than theirs were, but I was doing something to get these days. And I'll talk about that in the next part of the video. Anyways, guys, the whole point of this first video is just to get the idea in your head that growth doesn't need to take a very long period of time. If you've got the right people to work with, it can switch on like that. Because as men, we already have this in us. We just don't know that we have this in us because we haven't exercised it. So anyways, guys, can't wait to share the next video with you guys. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.